Well, it's that time of year again where I sit down on my birthday and talk about all the things I learned in the previous year and what I'm taking into the next 12 months. And the fact that half my nail broke while I was getting ready after the gym today is really a fantastic representation of the past year and the things I'm going to talk about in this video, because just this energy is very accurate, okay? If you've never seen my face before, hello, my name is Anna. Welcome to Anna is Random, which is basically my advice dump channel that has been like that really for how long I've had this channel now. I talk about self-confidence advice, female empowerment, mental health advice, life advice, things like that. So if that is something that is up your street, then by all means go over to my channel, have a look at what's there, and subscribe if you want to. So yeah, this is my annual sort of birthday rant, and as you could probably tell by my general demeanour, I mean, first of all, it's the first day of my period, so I'm just not feeling the best anyway, but this year has been tough. This year has been very up and down. I've been kind of thrown from pillar to post, and it was very difficult to bullet point what I wanted to talk about in this video and what I could take from being 23. So because I always journal about these videos, like I always start with journaling just for myself, but also to make this video, and it was very difficult to pick out the things I was going to talk about. This year has been a blur. This year has been an absolute blur, and I think the main core message of what I'm going to talk about is not letting external influences and people control you, making sure you are able to stand up for yourself unapologetically, not allow your voice to be drowned out or stamped on, and just not letting yourself be walked all over basically, and knowing your worth and proudly proclaiming that to the world, I think is the best way I can sort of sum up what we're going to talk about. But yeah, I'm going to break it down as best I can, and especially if you're going into your mid-20s, this is a good video, or just in your 20s in general, like maybe this will help you, especially if you're a woman. So that's what my channel's all about, what this video is going to be all about. So yeah, let's attempt to explain this, because as I say, it's not been easy, and it was definitely not the type of year I envisioned for myself this time last year. Like I was watching my video from last year the other day, and I was like, oh girl, oh dear. Yeah, I had no idea. I've made videos like this for the past like 2 or 3 years now, so if you want to go back on my channel you can find them. But anyway, first point I kind of want to touch on, because this has been the main theme of this year really, has been my career. Early on in the year I got a pretty big freelance, like my first sort of big freelance project. If you didn't know, I'm a graphic designer, I have a degree in it. I vlogged my entire experience at university, all the ups and downs of that, and my sort of controversial views on like the graphic design industry, and then me wanting to go freelance, and it was the first big opportunity that I got to be freelance. I did that freelance project and then was taken on as an employee, which meant I was able to quit my retail job. I was working at my local spa shop this time last year, and as I mentioned in the video I think, and I was able to quit that to start at this new company. That's where the problems started to arise, okay? Now, this is probably going to sound maybe a little bit misogynistic. Women in business is something that I champion, okay? However, there are a certain type of woman that comes up in business that unfortunately I can't stand, okay? And unfortunately the boss that I was dealing with in that company was an absolute stereotypical archetype of that type of woman. Women who think that just because they managed to get to boss bitch status, they think they know everything. They don't want to listen to people, especially if they're younger than them, despite the fact that they hired them literally to be like an expert on a certain topic they didn't know a lot about, which is another rant maybe I could do for another video. Just like expand on this topic, but they think they know everything and they want nothing more than to stamp on any other women around them. And you cannot let yourself be crushed by this type of woman, okay? People who are jealous of your confidence, people who are jealous of your knowledge on a certain topic, especially when it comes to your skill sets and your career and your education and your individuality and your ability to stand up for yourself and be knowledgeable on these topics and, you know, have your own expertise. You cannot let yourself be crushed by these people. You have to remain confident at all costs, even if that costs you your job, which in my case it did. Don't know if that's necessarily something I'm going to touch on in too much detail in this video, because it is still fairly fresh, although I have like got my last paycheck and stuff now. I'm not attached to that company or that job anymore at all, so I can talk about it a bit, but I think I might wait a while until it's a little bit older of a circumstance. But there has been this big theme of not becoming a corporate robot, and I talked about a lot about this when I was finishing university. Not letting yourself, especially as creatives, don't let yourself become a robot or a yes person, or don't let yourself conform, when that is something we're seeing in society a lot. Especially with women. I touched about it briefly in like my last video, which was all about, my second to last video, which was all about individuality when it comes to your fashion sense and your personal style, and that's something I kind of touch on there in the, especially in female fashion, just in society as a whole, it's all become very beige, white, black and white, which is also a trope you'll see in the sort of basic bitch boss CEO type women who just want to crush you, which I've just talked about. But yeah, just try not to let yourself conform, because it diminishes your feminine energy in a lot of ways, and it's just not who humans were designed or born to be. It's a very toxic system we've got at the moment. It is draining individuality from people, and it's a dying thing, and I always swore to myself that I would maintain that within myself, especially having worked so many years to have the self-confidence to even stand up for myself at all, or be confident in who I was, or even know who I was fully, because I was starting to fade into the background and it was not affecting my mental health in a good way. So to finally find my footing, only to have people tell me to be quiet and not speak out and just do as I'm told, angers me in such a deep way. And I've had to deal with that an awful lot this year. This is probably going to be another quite controversial topic, but when it comes to women in quite male-dominated spaces, we have to get rid of this idea that we are, I don't want to say it's, I'm probably going to get haters for this. As women, we are meant to be in business. Okay, I'm not saying that that's a bad thing altogether, and we can definitely be at the same level as men in terms of success, sure, but our mentalities cannot become masculine. In some ways they can, again, with success and going after your goals and working towards that, but my goodness, that aggression and that stubbornness cannot become part of it, because at the end of the day it's created such a women against women rather than women for women type of environment when it comes to business. And this is something that, again, I kind of touched on, but when women get to a certain level and all they want to do is just stay there and be in that power without letting and nurturing other women they know up to that same level, and not respecting women in the same way, and just, as I say, claiming that they know everything. It's difficult to describe really unless you've experienced it. We should not be fighting other women to get to where we want to be, or just because we've got somewhere, we can't be putting other women down who are clearly also smart and clearly also have the potential for success. We can't be putting them down, we can't be diminishing them, we can't be getting intimidated by them in a way, and it is inevitable, unfortunately, with the way that some areas of the feminist movement have carved the sort of boss bitch CEO type archetype and sort of really pushed it. Unfortunately, women do become awfully masculine and lose their sense of their feminine energy in that, which means that they lose that sort of caring, nurturing sides of themselves, which are so fundamental. Or if they do still maintain that, they get twisted to become condescending and backhanded and nasty and really manipulative, and I've seen that quite a lot this past year, and unfortunately a lot of it has been directed at me in the workplace, and I've really had to manage my anger with that and really observe that this is a bad thing that's happening and acknowledge that I don't like that and use it as the fuel of the fire to find my own success and prove people wrong who said that I couldn't do certain things, or that I wasn't capable, or that I wasn't good enough, you know? It's a new type of feminine rage. I will not lie. But yeah, in terms of my career, as I say, I am currently unemployed now. I'm gonna try my best to put as much energy into my social media projects as I can now that I have the time and also the passion and like the calling for it, which I've never really had before. It's like a new type of feeling. It's really strange, but good but strange. But I'm also looking for graphic design work, so if you run a small business, for instance, if you need a rebrand or something, my graphic design information is always in the description, so feel free to hit me up. I do specialise in kind of like bold, bright rebrands, although I can do corporate as well, but my passion is for very creative, bold, bright branding that incorporates a lot of illustration in there as well. If that sounds like you, hit me up. But anyway, I just wanted to kind of open this video with that, because as in my career and my experience in the workplace and being around, as I say, that kind of archetype of woman, experiencing that sort of side of the business world and the women that are in it has been very eye-opening and very frustrating and rather infuriating at times. And as I say, it's been a new type of rage. It's just a shame that I lost so many months of this year not being happy, but hey, onwards and upwards. The second sort of theme I wanted to touch on with kind of my evolution throughout this year has been realising the difference between masculine and feminine energy. And yes, this has come off the back of what I experienced in work, but also just through things like my exploration with fashion and lingerie and using aesthetics and really honing in and finally sort of finding, I think, the core of my personal style. I mean, I'm not really the best example of that today, just in my sweatshirt, which is I've had for years at this point. But if you go over to my Instagram, and you know, I've done a whole video a few weeks ago where I talk about like the importance of using fashion and finding your personal style to maintain a sense of individuality, which, as I've said, is dying in society as a whole. So that has become something that is so much more important to me. I mean, it always was, but it's just become such a top priority. A big thing with that is it's felt divinely timed. I am Christian, although I'm not necessarily the sort of stereotypical version of like an internet Christian. I know a lot of people see, like, you might see Christians, especially when they're American, talk about like you've got to be modest and like be sort of like quiet and that kind of archetype for like the Christian woman. And as much as I agree with, and I'll probably do like a whole video on this, the way that women are portrayed with how people talk about how women should be if they're Christian is so, in my opinion, so hypocritical to the way that God made us. And God made us, and the female figure has been something that has been worshipped in art and in poetry and music, and I don't think God made the female figure so beautiful, and I don't think he created women just to have us hide ourselves in this way. So I feel such a calling to promote that message more, say with lingerie, which is very it can be controversial, trust me, I've heard it all. My love for self-portrait photography and very sort of graceful themes and poses, and I don't do my self-portrait photography on my Instagram to be overtly sexual. I don't do it to over-sexualize myself. I don't do it for the male gaze, which is something we hear a lot. There is a difference between like the male and the female gaze when it comes to art and photography and things like that, especially when it comes to lingerie and that being involved. I truly feel that, again, going back to just like the beauty of the female figure and the beauty beauty of women as a whole. Lingerie is such a form of expressing the divine feminine, expressing raw, pure femininity. As I say, there is a way of doing it that's just overtly sexual, that is for the male gaze, and I don't really support that side of it. Anyone who's doing it just to see themselves as beautiful and find true confidence in their bodies and themselves, and to destigmatize lingerie and fashion and being graceful and feminine in that way, isn't doing it for the male gaze and is doing it for the female gaze, and is promoting, as I say, that pure femininity and that female expression. And it is controversial to say, because a lot of people will just be like, oh my god, she's doing it to over-sexualize herself. It does frustrate me in a way that lingerie has been this addition to women being over-sexualized, and people can't see a woman in lingerie just as beautiful, and just her being a woman is really frustrating to me. It's a new type of frustration, because the way I see it, I don't like when I see an Ann Summers campaign, or I see one of the creators I follow on Instagram in lingerie, or like a beautiful piece of clothing like a corset or something, and like a nice skirt and like heels and stuff, like a more classic look. I don't see that as, I just see that as pure feminine beauty and femininity in its rawest form, and the way God intended. I'm not gonna lie, like, it's God made us beautiful and we should be celebrating that. I really do feel this calling to promote that more on my social media and to promote that more here, and I don't think we should ever apologize, because when you know that it's a message you're supposed to deliver, no matter how controversial or doubtful you might be about it, when you know, you know. If you're a follower of God, you know when God has sent you to deliver a message to the world. And that's how I feel about fashion and individuality, and not being scared of owning lingerie and wearing it and finding that love for it, and finding that love for your body and the way that God made you is just something I just feel really called to do. And you should never apologise, especially as a woman, for being yourself, delivering those messages that God has called you to, that has sent you to deliver. It's a very controversial point, and I'm sure I'm probably going to say it a lot better in a video after this, but I just wanted to put that out there because that's something that I've really been developing this past year, and I really feel like it has. Like, some of my photo shoots I've been doing this year are like some of my favourites, and I'm really proud of my photography skills and the way that they've come on, the way that I've been able to develop my skills in Photoshop and things. And I do definitely have some visions as to where I want to kind of take that my photography content, because I kind of want to go a slightly different route with it. I'm definitely proud of a lot of the content that I've made this year, and if you guys want to go check that out, it's all on my Instagram, which will be linked at the end. Moving on. With a lot of the stress that was coming from my workplace, I think a lot of me trying to heal myself and make myself better mentally and trying to reconnect with who I was, because I felt like I was losing myself a little bit, and also gaining quite the heavy phone addiction, which I'm still trying to work on, but trying to go back. And this is not an original point, this is just something that I've adopted from other people that I've been told, and then I'm gonna add it here because it has really helped. Having hobbies that don't include scrolling on social media, or things that you used to do when you were a child or a teenager. So for instance, I now have a second-hand Xbox One because I used to play Xbox around my friend's house at the time. It really reminds me of that time of my life where I did have like a large group of friends and I felt quite comfortable socially, and also just really like gaming, and I just haven't had the proper capacity to game properly the past few years, so it's been nice now. That's probably the one good thing I will say about that job, is that it paid for me to get a second-hand Xbox, that I've really enjoyed playing it, and it's been really nice if I'm working, because it has like an extra screen. I'll just play like a YouTube video in the background, and I'm not having to flip back between tabs on my laptop. Like, it's just good. It's just sort of good. It's a good thing all around. And yeah, no, that's probably like the best purchase I've made this year, to be fair. I'm trying to remember what made me happy at certain times in my life, because I will not lie, I've never really had a consistent social life. I've always, like, when I was in school, I dealt a lot with bullying, especially because I had a YouTube channel, and that was something that I was doing that was such a sticking point for people. Trying to remember what brought me joys during those hard times, and a big part of that was gaming. You know, that's why getting an Xbox was something that was so important to me. Also, like, getting back into YouTube instead of Instagram. Like, I've been watching a lot of like old videos that I used to watch when I was in high school. I'm trying to do kind of more art and focusing more on more fashion, like, as a hobby, and trying to hone in on like those aspects of myself rather than, again, just scrolling on Instagram, and trying just to find ways to keep myself busy and keep myself happy. I'm far from perfect on this, you know, I am still trying to improve those areas. I mean, yeah, the Xbox has helped me a lot, but I'm also trying to get back to doing art more, which has been difficult to try and sort of find the time. Again, in here is not always the funnest place. Trying to decipher all the rubbish to find some kind of order is not always easy. And the last theme I want to talk about, everybody's favourite, is love and relationships. Yay! Something I have always done well with historically, haven't I? Totally isn't a video on my channel talking about how I was in an abusive relationship. Like, yeah, I've been doing well, guys. I've been doing well, guys. I mean, it's been two years since I got out of that relationship, and I was in a relationship for kind of about 5 or 6 months this year. However, that ended at kind of the middle of last month. The things I want to say about what I've learned about love and relationships this year. As much as that relationship didn't work out, I am very, very proud of the way that I handled a lot of it. I mean, it was good. It wasn't like, it was fine. I'm not saying that like it was horrible or anything, but any aspects that were maybe rough, or maybe I would have struggled with in the past, I dealt with very, very well. I think something that, and again, I keep saying that I want to make a video about my experience with dating apps, how they kind of healed my attachment issues, and I said that in my last year's video. I'm definitely going to make that now, soon, even though I didn't meet the last guy on Tinder. I met him through YouTube actually, but anyway. But I say in the past, certain things I would not have dealt with so calmly and so sensibly as I did this time round. So I am quite proud of myself for that. However, the things I will take from that experience and the experiences that I had kind of at the beginning of the year as well, keep your standards high. Know what your standards are, first of all. Don't be settling for anything other than. Really get clear on those, and only really get excited about new people if they match those standards, and if they are compatible to you in those ways, like certain interests maybe that you really want in a partner, like you really want to be mirrored in someone that you're with. That way it avoids you settling, and it avoids you saying, oh well, that's fine, I can get over that bit, you know, like I can enjoy this certain thing by myself if they're not into it, and like that's just gonna be fine, that's just something we're gonna have to get over, right? If you truly want to be happy with somebody you're gonna spend like the rest of your life with, because that's what we should be trying to look for in dating at the end of the day. Like, if you're not dating to find your forever person, then what are you doing, you know? I mean, no shame to anybody who's out there having like a mini hoe phase. You do what you want to do, girl, as long as you come back to the sensible one at some point. You know, we all heal in certain ways. But as I say, if you want to find somebody that you want to spend the rest of your life with, you want to make sure that you're going to be happy with them. You want to make sure that you're not going to be fighting over like small things, or like if you want to watch a certain thing, like they don't want to, that there's not going to be tension over that, you know, like just it's the small things. I mean, that was just like a throwaway example, but like you don't want to be just saying, oh, it's going to be fine, because certain years down the line, you never know, like if that's going to build resentment over time, you know. So you really want somebody that you really, really are compatible with, but also you should just be enjoying the dating experiences that you are having, especially when you're young. You should be learning from those, even if, you know, maybe they sort of end out of the blue, and if they do and you think that everything's fine and then they just dump you, it is not your fault. That is way more their loss than yours. Trust me, if they are willing, if someone is willing to just drop you and not really consider your feelings, or clearly you kind of weren't seeing you as a long-term thing, even though you thought that they were because of certain things that they said, first of all, their words should align with their actions 100%. But if that is the case, it is their loss, not yours. And you know, that is a them problem. If you were seeing them as a long-term thing and they weren't, that is a them problem and not a you problem, and you need to go out there and you can find someone better who could probably align with your standards. Trust me, it was something that really helped me through this last breakup, was to actually write down what I want in my sort of like dream partner, and I'm gonna remember that moving forward, because I'm done getting played at this point. I'm done getting messed with and just used, pretty much. So just in general, like with my past experiences the past sort of year, I'm done. I'm only dating people, and I'm only getting excited over people who fit my standards and have the same interests, so we're able to talk about things in a level playing field kind of way. That is what I'm gonna end this video with as well. This has been a ramble, but hopefully some of the things I've talked about have been useful. Again, it was very, very difficult for me to actually break down what I'd learned this year, because it's been absolutely crazy. I wouldn't change any of it though, and I think it's really set me up well for this next year, and it's really given me a good foundation now to go into my mid-20s. My early 20s were a journey, right? But again, I've learned a lot and I feel so much more grown up in a way, which I know sounds a bit cringe, but I feel again, just so that I've got such a solid foundation from my early 20s to be going into my mid-20s with, and hopefully things will get better in 2025. Hopefully. Please. Hopefully by the time I make my I'm turning 25, what did I learn at 24 video, it's going to be a lot more positive than this one. I'm going to expand on a few of the points that I've made in other videos coming up probably, but yeah, if you specifically want me to talk about any topics that I've mentioned, do leave that in the comments. If any of it helped you, leave that in the comments. Just leave some good feedback there. Make sure to like this video as well if you did find it helpful, because giving it the like button is still kind of the best way to get videos out at the moment, just in general, just with engagement. So if you could help me out with that, thank you very much. And again, if you find this video or you think that my content would help you, feel free to subscribe. That's what I'm here for. You know, it is a fun place, I swear. If you want to go watch like my last video, if you want like an example of that, my last video was a review of Wicked, the film version that's just come out, which was a fun ride. So if you want to go over there, that would be nice. I will see you guys in the next one. I think I'm going to be vlogging on my birthday because I'm seeing Come From Away the day after my birthday. So yeah, I will see you guys in the next one. Happy birthday to me.